With the 2020 summer season coming to a close, I thought it would be fun to share what I want, what I think should, and what I think will come to the New England amusement parks for new rides in the next few years. And I want to start by saying I have absolutely no inside information, and these guesses are purely based on the park's gaps, histories, and tendencies. So with that, let's start with New England's largest amusement park in Six Flags New England. Since the park does not appear to be opening for the 2020 season, their original new for 2020 edition, Supergirl, will be postponed till 2021. But I also want to predict what will come after that as well. What I personally want is a launch coaster. I would love if they could squeeze a launch coaster on the hillside by Catwoman's Whip, send it over the access road, and into Superman's Helix. That way they could get a new roller coaster without removing something. And a launch coaster is the most notable thing they're missing. Now, what I honestly think they should add is something to Hurricane Harbor. It has been a really long time since they added something to their water park. And one of the biggest slides they're missing is a Mat Racer water slide. And honestly, I think this Mat Racer water slide is a strong possibility. Granted, I've been calling for that for years, but that's what I'll say the park is most likely to get as their next big addition. Moving on to Edaville USA in southern Massachusetts, what I want is for Curse Splash to finally open. That ride has been sitting but not operating for years. What I think they should do is they should add an indoor attraction. Since Edaville thrives off their holiday event, I would love to see some sort of dark ride. I know they were originally supposed to get a Pirates dark ride that didn't end up opening, so I'm hoping maybe they can add something from Trio Trek in the future. What I think is most likely, though, is probably another flat ride or two that's family-based. Moving on to Connecticut, let's talk about Lake Compounce. Due to the pandemic, Lake Compounce's original new for 2020 water slide, Venus Vortex, was postponed until 2021. But I also want to predict what will come after that. What I want are more rides added down by Thunder Rapids. I really love Thunder Rapids, but it rarely operates. It's the only ride in that section of the park. And when it does open, it opens late and closes early because people don't really go down that section of the park. My dream down there would be a thrilling steel coaster, but really anything would help. What I think should be added is a family steel coaster, specifically a spinning coaster. Another thing that I think would be a good possibility would be a speed slide to replace the closed Lights Out water slide. Lights Out was the park's most intense body slide and really their only speed slide. And what I think is most likely is either that spinning coaster because the park has looked to install one in the past, or that speed slide because the land clearing around the lake is adjacent to the water park. Moving on to Quassy, what I want is a big air coaster from SBF Visa. And honestly, I think that's something they should look into adding. The Little Dipper may not have much life left in it, and the big air coaster would probably fit in that same footprint looping around Kittyland. The big air coaster would give a mix of thrills with the hamster wheel, and it would also give the tamer ride for the younger riders with the spinning cars. Now, what I think is most likely is probably a water park edition because that's where Quassy's crowds really flock to, or some sort of smaller SBF Visa flat ride because the park's recent flat ride editions have been from that company. Moving on to Canobie Lake Park, what I want is a signature coaster added to the park. The Yankee Cannonball used to be that for me, but after GCI retracted the coaster and it lost a lot of airtime, it just isn't that ride that I want to marathon at the end of the night anymore. What I think they should add, though, is a family coaster. You have absolutely nothing to bridge the gap for young roller coaster enthusiasts between the Dragon and Yankee Cannonball. What I think would make sense would be to replace Tall Timber Splash with a family coaster. The water slides are really popular at Castaway Island, and Tall Timber Splash doesn't really fit in anymore. Another option would be to add some water slides to Castaway Island because of how popular that water park is, or add an inverting flat ride. The park used to have one with Equinox, but that ride left because it didn't run very often. What I think is most likely, though, is a water park edition because of the unprecedented success of Castaway Island. Another option that could float back is the New England Explorer River Rapids ride. Canobie looked to add this a few years ago, but this was dropped after the Dreamworld River Rapids accident. And Canobie had actually looked to add a River Rapids ride way back in the late 1990s until Six Flags New England's Blizzard River had an accident there as well. So this River Rapids ride has been on the table for quite some time, and it would work perfectly in the plot of land behind Untamed. Because of how close that plot of land is to nearby homes, they can't really build anything tall in that area, so a River Rapids ride is a perfect use of that land. Moving on to Storyland, what I want is a dark ride. I really do miss the Voyage to the Moon dark ride they used to have, and I'd love if they can build some new ride that pays homage to it. What I think they should add is a kiddie coaster or a water play structure. The Polar Coaster is a fine family roller coaster, but it's a bit taller than your average kiddie ride, so something smaller would be great for young riders. Or they should add a water play structure. I know they have the Magic Submarine area, but if you look at what the other parks nearby like Santa's Village and Canobie Lake Park have over Storyland, it's the fact those places have water parks now. Now what I think is most likely, I honestly don't know with this park, but I'll just say the kiddie coaster for now. Moving on to Santa's Village, what I want is a signature roller coaster. This is a park that has a Zaire Tivoli coaster and an SBF Visa spinner, neither of which is something that'll draw me to the park. But what I think they should do is expand on the water park because it's their advantage over their main rival in Storyland. What I think is most likely is an expansion of that water park or some sort of small flat ride. Moving on to Funtown USA in Maine, what I want is a thrilling steel coaster. A Raptor model will be perfect for their capacity and ride lineup. Or a launch coaster of some sort would be great because there aren't any launch coasters in northern New England. What I think they should add is that thrilling steel coaster. But if they want something a little smaller, an inverting flat ride would be great because Funtown doesn't have anything that takes you upside down. If they want something more modest, a kiddie coaster would be great because they don't have one currently. Now, I think the most likely addition of Funtown is a few years out. It's no secret the park may have some financial issues after this year because they were closed for the entirety of the 2020 season. The park has said that they may close permanently if they cannot open per usual in 2021. So when they eventually do add something, I'm expecting something modest like maybe that inverting flat ride or a kiddie coaster. Moving on to Palace Playland, what I want is an Armour Larson drop tower. Because of Palace Playland being located next to the beach, this drop tower would give absolutely beautiful views, and it would be the most thrilling ride in the park. And I think that's something they should look into adding. I just don't know if the park has a height limit. What I think is most likely is some sort of compact spinning flat ride from SBF Visa or Zamperla. As much as I want that large drop tower, the park does already have a smaller drop tower, and I'm not sure if they'd be looking to add another one. Last but not least, let's talk about York's Wild Kingdom. What I want is some sort of family coaster. They haven't really had one since Flitzer left way back in the late 1990s. What I think they should add is probably FEC style attractions like bumper boats because most people visit the zoo side of the park and just walk right through the ride park. So they want something that people will pay per ride for. That's why I think the FEC model would be great for this park. And what I think is most likely, honestly, I don't see this park adding much to the ride side anytime soon, just based off their history. What are your thoughts on these additions? Could you see some of the New England parks receiving these additions, or do you think they'll get something else? Again, this is pure speculation on my part, so I'd love to hear your comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate if you gave it a like and considered subscribing because we'll have a lot more roller coaster and amusement park videos here at Canobie Coaster. Thanks for listening.